Hi, this is James Quealy with the Los Angeles Times. We are in Grant Park right now at the end of a lengthy anti-Donald Trump protest that is woven through all of downtown Los Angeles on Friday. It seems the LAPD they gave a dispersal order and a 10-minute warning for a couple of hundred protesters to leave out in front of City Hall. Many of them chose to go into Grant Park as opposed to leaving, and they have now been surrounded in the park. It does not appear they're going to be allowed to leave any further. I did see one person try to leave several minutes ago, and an officer told them that you will not be leaving. You had your chance. They have at least 50 to 100 people I can't see surrounded in the park. They did allow the press to step out, so I'm now being forced to stand far back on Spring Street. The crowd is chanting peace, if you can hear them. We cannot tell if the LAPD is going to move in. There are a number of officers out here with beanbag shotguns, riot helmets on. This protest has been going on for several hours. It wove from City Hall all the way to the Westlake neighborhood and back. LAPD is now asking us to back up again. They have made several arrests over the course of the day, but a small number compared to the 3,000 protesters that were out here. Once again, we're at Grand Park waiting to see if the LAPD is going to arrest about 100 protesters who remain in Grand Park. Again, this was 3,000 protesters at one point were out here this Friday. Many of them, like I said, did move from City Hall to Westlake, but the protest was largely peaceful over the course of the day, very boisterous, a lot of loud chants, but not as much graffiti or property damage that I've seen in the other nights I have been out here. There were some arrests near the Staples Center. The California Highway Patrol jumped on several people who officers at the scene told me had either been spraying graffiti on local businesses or who had thrown a thermos at police officers. There was a near skirmish between protesters and police at that point, but it did not expand past there. I'm sorry for the poor view. Again, I cannot get any closer without risking arrest at this point. We are being held on the sidewalk. As you can see, if you want a point of reference, we are right underneath City Hall. I cannot get any closer again to Grand. Again, many of the protesters did flee the park by jumping over a fence. The LAPD eventually cut that route off. They are now bringing in, as you can see behind me, several school buses, which will probably be used in the event mass arrests take place. These school buses were following the protests throughout the night. They were out in Westlake at one point when we thought arrests were going to happen. I'm seeing at least 2 buses, several vans out here. Protesters seem to be trying to urge peace with the LAPD. Again, I don't know if that is going to accomplish anything. There are probably more police officers than protesters left in the park at this point. LAPD is continuing to round up. Again, as you can see, they have officers very close to us with the beanbag shotgun. Some of you are asking why are they being threatened with arrest. Again, just to catch you up, the LAPD gave a dispersal order when this crowd that had been protesting and marching for hours through downtown LA returned to City Hall. They referred to it as a violent congregation, not an unlawful assembly, and threatened the use of less lethal force. As I've said, I can see several officers out here with beanbag shotguns with riot helmets on, not riot shields. Once again, I apologize for the poor visual. I am basically doing this as an audio broadcast right now because I cannot get any closer, and there's nothing I can do about the lighting. I'm here with Patrick Fallon, freelance photographer, occasionally shoots for us. He was in there with me. They did decide to let the press out. We would have been subject to arrest about 4 or 5 minutes ago. They did allow us out. Again, there have been about 3,000 people protesting in Los Angeles tonight, in downtown Los Angeles and the Westlake neighborhood. That was the LAPD's estimate about an hour ago. We are not sure if they changed tactics based on an incident that happened yesterday right outside of our building at the dog park outside of Los Angeles Police Headquarters. An undercover officer who was assigned to protect the building was attacked while attempting to arrest somebody for vandalism, was attacked by a woman, struck in the head with his own handcuffs, and later his gun was stolen. 2 people were arrested. I don't have exact charges. And we, again, as the LAPD has been mostly hands-off and trying to facilitate peaceful protests, they also have been out in more force tonight than I've seen at any other point. There were about 2 or 3 dozen officers in with the riot shields on earlier today as soon as the first protest began, as the first march began from City Hall around 8 o'clock. Again, they've been cutting off roads, they've been herding the protesters in different directions, but they have not, for the most part, had any interactions with the protesters. I have seen very few arrests over the course of the night, also very, very little damage. Been a decent amount of graffiti, but that's about it. LAPD is continuing to circle them. I know it is very tough to see. They're obviously in all black. I can also not make out what the protesters are saying at this time. More LAPD officers now walking up. An additional at least dozen now are walking into the park, and more are coming to form a perimeter here on the sidewalk. Last night when a situation like this happened, they did box in protesters on Olympic and Olive, but they allowed them to leave with a slow dispersal. That does not seem to be the case tonight. Last night they were letting 5 or 6 people out every minute when the protests were about to turn violent. That does not seem to be the case, at least so far, although I don't know if that's going to change. There are also sheriff's deputies on hand now. No, for the person who asked, the protesters have not threatened or hurt the police officers right now. I have not even seen any physical altercations here between officers and protesters so far. One woman tried to break back through the line about 20 minutes ago, and she was thrown to the ground about a block away from me, but that was it, and she did not appear to be arrested. Some of the protesters, if you can hear that, are screaming, "United we stand," at the moment. Once again, this is James Queerley with the Los Angeles Times. What you are watching is effectively going to be an audio stream of what might be large-scale arrests at Grand Park in downtown Los Angeles. This is at the conclusion of a lengthy protest that has gone on for hours from Westlake, from downtown LA rather, up through, zigzagging through the city past the Staples Center and into Westlake. I can see LAPD officers running through the park. I cannot see what if anything, they are running after. There was an order to disperse was given roughly 20 minutes ago. The protesters were given a 10-minute warning. There were probably 300 to 400 people here. Many of them left. About 100 seem to have remained and are now being circled in Grand Park and does not appear they're going to be allowed to leave. I'm aware that you can't see. As I've said, we're just basically doing an audio broadcast here to keep you informed. Obviously, the lighting here is very poor. Unfortunately, there's nothing I can do about that. It is after midnight here in Los Angeles. For those of you asking why should they disperse, they were given a dispersal order and 10 minutes to leave with routes of egress. Under most laws declaring unlawful assembly in most states, that is all that is required. The order was given in both English and Spanish. Again, they were given a lengthy amount of time to disperse. They did not. And that does give the LA the authority to arrest them. It is, of course, their discretion if they actually want to arrest them.
Yeah, look at the top of the park. It's clear now everyone's pushing over towards Broadway. You got a couple, it looks like you hear them up there standing around.
More sirens in the distance you can hear at the moment. There seems to be more officers coming down. Again, the reason you cannot see and the reason I cannot get any closer is because we have been moved to the sidewalk at the request of the LAPD. Many of the reporters who are here and trying to cover this were... Hang on.
Let me try to find somebody. Hold on.
I'm seeing the crowd move in a direction without officers going with them. I'm not sure if they are allowing people to disperse or giving them one less chance now. Again, for those of you asking what's the point of not allowing them to leave, the LAPD did give a dispersal order and a 10-minute warning. Nothing came to pass. Several protesters stayed behind and may be subject to arrest. I am seeing the crowd move, though. Again, I'm not sure if they're just moving around inside the perimeter or they're being allowed to leave. There are at least 50 to 100 protesters inside of this circle right now that could be subject to arrest. It could be more. I could not get a great count. Patrick, we got any update on getting that other reporter out there?
Yeah, there's a couple photographers that are in there that aren't being let out right now. They've asked for a sergeant. We're trying to see if we can find them a captain or a public affairs officer.
I don't know what that sound is, if that's fireworks or a beanbag shotgun. It's happening about a block away. You can hear loud bangs in the distance. All right, so the other reporters that were trapped in there have been allowed to leave. Again, the LAPD has allowed the press to get out of the circle without arrest. I don't know if they're going to do the same for the protesters, though. They were talking about, some of you were asking about backpacks and coming up the stairs. That was just a police radio transmission. The stairs they're referring to are about a block away on the other side of Grand Park. I can see a decent amount of officers positioned there. I cannot, however, see what is happening there. Again, that's a couple of 100 feet away from me. That is not a school bus helmet. That is a riot helmet with a face shield. Again, what you can see over here, this bus, both of these buses are here for what would assume to be mass arrests. They have been following around the protests all night in case there were sweeps. I have not seen anybody loaded into a bus yet. Again, for those of you asking, the issue here is that the protest was going on for a number of hours. The LAPD declared it a violent congregation and did warn those who did not leave the area in front of on Spring between First and Temple, which, as you can see again, that is the City Hall building that they were right in front of. They were ordered to leave that area. Many of them chose to move into Grand Park instead, which is the unfortunately dark area you see there. There's not enough lighting. I cannot do anything about that to show you or give you a clearer feed. Once they went in there, the police moved in again. Many left or leapt over the fences and ran toward the Los Angeles Times building, which you can see in the distance over there. Some stayed behind, and there are about 50 to 100 who are currently encircled by Los Angeles police officers.
Across the other side of the street, dispersal order has been given.
LAPD is giving another dispersal order. They're now ordering the press further away. So I'm probably going to have to cut this feed because you're going to be able to see effectively nothing now. If you want to get live updates from this scene, I am on Twitter at James Queally, LAT. That's James, Queally, LAT. Once again, this is James Queally with the Los Angeles Times. I will be continuing to report on this potential mass arrest at Grand Park after protests against the election of Donald Trump. You can follow me there on Twitter for more. Thank you.